So I welcome you all again. Today on virtual scientific paper presentation entitled Machine Learning Applications in Handling the Infectious Diseases. I hope this virtual conference will give you a glimpse of idea how machine learning application can be applied uh, throughout the field of public health research. So today we have 57 participants or 57 presenters. They are going to present some scientific paper published, especially in the topic of machine learning and infectious diseases, including dengue and COVID-19. These two infectious diseases are a global health threat. So I think this conference will give some idea for the policymaker to implement some policies regarding the prevention and control strategies of COVID-19 pandemic as well as the dengue. And dengue and COVID, these are the widespread infectious diseases. Although dengue is a old disease, but it's also a global threat and it's prevalent in Southeast Asia and Western Pacific countries. So I'd like to congratulate the presenters, and also I'd like to thank you. The participants are here from Begum Rocha University, Rangpur and abroad, who are watching us. So if you have any idea, if you have any query, we have a question and answer session after the presentation, or maybe you can ask in the middle of presenters presentation. But I would really appreciate if you can ask your query or question right at the end of the presenter's presentation. So I'd like to invite Mr. Murshid Alam to present the scientific paper entitled Mapping the Spatial Distribution of Dengue Vector Aedes aegypti and Predicting its Abundance in Northeastern Thailand using Machine Learning Approach. So where is Mr. Murshid?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Sir, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
So can I start right now?
Yeah, you can start sharing your screen. Good.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Firstly, I would like to thank you.
No, go to the full PowerPoint.
Okay, sir.
F5 maybe, or wide your screen. Good.
Okay, sir. Firstly, I'd like to thank my beloved and honorable co-teacher and today's coordinators. Thank you very much, sir, for having me here today and took a part for the virtual presentation. I'm really glad to part this presentation, and I thanks to you thousand because for making these types of seminar or presentation. I believe that it will help us tomorrow, our experience. It increases our experience actually. So right now I can go my presentation. Today we all know that our presentation is based on machine learning applications in handling disease infectious. So my topic is about dengue. Actually, how can I predict it? So right now I'm going to my slide, and here all guests and my colleague, actually my friend and other guests who are right now invited for everything, my beloved and for beloved, and to all you the good morning and welcome to my presentation right now. And this presentation in on machine learning, which is guidance of my course teacher, Dr. Siddiqur Rahman sir. And This is Morshed Alam and my ID is 1610033. My selected topic is mapping the spatial distribution dengue vector Aedes aegypti and predicting the abundance northeastern Thailand for learning approach. So here is the two things here. First one is the mapping the spatial distribution of dengue vector Aedes aegypti, and another is predicting its abundance in northeastern Thailand using machine learning. You have already known that what is the spatial. Actually, our course teacher Siddiqur Rahman sir has already discussed about spatial is nothing but the region or area. Here I distribute the dengue aegypti, how much abundance in here, and I want to predict how much distribution they are available. So this is my selected topics, and here is my content. You can see there are several content in my this presentation slide, such as subject, objective, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, abstract of the study, study area, data collection, materials and methods of the study, result of the study, limitations of the study, and the conclusions. So right now, I wanna go to the next slide, so is the specific topics actually, and specific things which are contained the all presentation in my slide. And I want to show you with the objective of today's objective, which is related to pertinent to the dengue vector, which I want to predict the spatial distribution and the abundance of the northeastern Thailand. So here is the, you can say the two objectives. First one is identifying the geographical distribution of the dengue vector Aedes aegypti. So here is geographical distribution means that the area where it appears or the dengue vectors is appears. You have already known that what is vectors. Research already told it. And second one is forecasting the abundance of the dengue vector Aedes aegypti in northeastern Thailand. And here I want to know the abundance. Abundance means that's the presence of the Aedes aegypti actually. So how much present of the Aedes aegypti here in northeastern Thailand, I can predict it or I want to find it. So first of all, I want to tell about some specific issue which is pertinent to machine learning language. Actually, I want to say firstly what is machine learning language. Machine learning language is a technique to predict something from the thousand of data. Actually, this machine can learn from the thousand of data and make sense. Actually, it used by using artificial intelligence, it can make sense what is the specific things or specific person or specific anything can be studied. So first of all, I know the machine learning is categorized or classified by three special things. One is supervised, and we also know the another is unsupervised, and last one is reinforcement. So I want to discuss right now what is supervised learning. Actually, supervised learning is nothing but supervised learning is a part of machine learning which deals with the label data. So you can say me what is label data, right? So label data is that kinds of data who is identified before. Suppose before mechanism of machine learning, you get thousands of data, such as many dogs and many cats actually, but you don't identify this before. Sorry, you identified this before your actions. Here you call the supervised data. Supervised data supervision to you to predict what is dogs or what is cat. Actually, you already defined it before. And here the mechanism of machine learning is to identify the this is after mechanism this identify the what is cat or what is dogs. This is the main things of the supervised data. A supervised learning algorithm build a mathematical model of a set of data that contain both input and output. Actually, you can share the input actually, uh, and define it before, and the machine learning learn from this data, and lastly, they provide you a result. Basically, supervised learning is learning which is we teach or train machine using data which is well leveled that I told before. And my next is unsupervised data. Actually, it's not different other things. It's also related to machine learning. Actually, you can say the um, antonym thing actually before slide. You can say the supervised NT unsupervised actually. Before we had already discussed supervised data can use label value or label data, and here is antonym part. Here the unsupervised learning deals with the unlabeled data. Such as the example, if you uh, set thousands of data, suppose on a market you show a shop, you notice the shop some fruits of apples or mangoes, but you don't define before it. Here is the main difference between supervised and unsupervised data. There we already defined in supervised data, but here we can't define before. After mechanism and this machine learning can learn from this data and it can be defined after its mechanism, and this machine learning learn from this whole data. So supervised data deals with the unlabeled data by using artificial intelligence, and unlike supervised learning, not it's correlated actually the machine learning uh, classification. Sorry, unsupervised learning is deals with also the clustering. Clustering is nothing but clustering is a part of uh, the machine learning. So last one is reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is an area of machine learning which is concerned with how intelligence agent takes action in an environment to maximize its reward. Suppose here is an example. Already you can see a sitting cat and he's so looking to work another position. Actually, here is the fourth turn. One is the cat. It's called the agent actually. Cat is the agent, and then it want to go and want to change its position. Why it can change its position? It's want to get a reward or you get want to something. So it can firstly movement actually it changes its movement. Then it's called the action actually. There are two parts. One is agent and one is the action part. And another is here. So why he change his movement? Why? So getting some rewards. That's why uh, to eat fish it's the reward of this cat. So reinforcement learning is about the there's four part. One is agent, one is state, one is reward, and another is action actually. So this is the main mechanism here, reinforcement learning. So it is nothing but if I told you the another example, suppose a child or baby want to beat a dog, and this is the agent of the dog, and the child, mm, after reacting that after the child want to beat, when he or she beat it changes movement, it barkings this time. This is the state, or it's the action of this dog. And I think this barking situation is the reverse of these children. I think you already clear about this enforcement in learning. So here, my main topics is from start now here. It's the abstract of the study. Here I have already shown you my topics, and my topics was the mapping the spatial distribution of the dengue vector in Egypt and accurately predicting its abundance, or crucial for designing effective vector control. Actually, I want to know here what's the main things. First one is the uh, spatial distribution of dengue vectors, and another is predicting the abundance of the Aedes aegypti in northeastern Thailand. So it's the abstract of my study. Okay, next slide. And here you also show that study area, and these study areas I have already told northeastern Thailand here. So we have already we all know that the dengue is an infectious disease actually, which is caused by the dengue virus and transmitted by Aedes mosquitoes. Dengue virus is the deadliest abnormal infection in terms of human morbidity and mortality. And we also know it's the one kinds of vectors. You already know the what's the vectors. Vector is nothing. Vector is a living thing which is a deviation of any organism of human being or any animal being. So it does destroy. Actually, it's destroy. The vector destroys our organism. Actually, it's like it's a virus. If you look at, or if you uh, get an example, actually the SARS-CoV, and here the SARS is the severe acute respiratory syndrome you already known. It's also the virus, and it can harms our lung also. So vector is that which is deviations of our organism, human organism or animal organism, anything. Okay. So here's the process of data collection, how much data I collected and from where actually. So you can see here the households and surrounding compounds where from I collected my data, and another is larva and PP who are collected weekly. And actually, what to say, the second term is collected weekly actually. And samples are collected 3 to 5 days per week. And the samples, you have already known the what is sample. Sample is the representative part of our population actually. How much data already collect, and we take some data from all data. It's a sample. These are samples were collect from 3 to 5 days per week, and when it is collected, it is collected 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And last one is the characteristics and types of water containers are also recorded. Actually, here the water containers means we especially we're Bangladeshi, we know that our Dhaka city, our capital here, it's a concern to prevent the dengue mosquitoes abundance. So you can hear, or you can notice that if you want to go there any times, you go there the in city corporation area or any drainage area actually. Here's the birthplace of the Aedes mosquitoes actually. So here also the in northeastern Thailand, here the water containers which is too much associated to collect our data. So here's my materials and methods. First of all, I want to say the mosquitoes collection and handling. So how here female adolescent mosquitoes collection were carried out indoors and outdoors of 128 households in 4 study sites. Here's the 4 study sites, and 128 households. This data are collected from there, and one is the two urban actually here and two rural. You also know the what is urban. It's the city area actually, and rural is the village area or remote area actually. In two provinces in northeastern Thailand, from January to December. Actually, this data has had collected from January to December 2019. And next one is socio-economic and knowledge, attitude practice. So here, household-based economics and knowledge attitudes practice factors associated with female adulticity, abundance, and potential dengue risk were included in this study. Urban, rural residents, education status, households, income, social status. These are the actually uh, it data set actually which can be used our feature term. It will appear in next slide, I believe. So this is the main things today's presentation actually. It's a landscape data. I think you have already known that what is landscape data. Landscape data is nothing but it's a satellite image, you can say. Actually, if we how much images we are collected from the satellite, this is the landscape data. Here, potential land use and land cover factors that are the considered to impact human mosquito interaction were included. Build-up area, permanent wetlands, natural tree over, rubber plantation, rice crop, all SSA percentage in the 30 minutes radius area of the. Actually, here, why we can use the landscape data? Landscape data, it makes our project or presentation easily, because suppose you don't go to easily any dangerous area actually. So where from you collected these types of images, and you can make a decision, you can make a prediction of these types of data which are contained in this area actually, where you don't want to, why you can't go there. So you can say feature actually in a figure here. You can a flowchart actually, you can say it. So here is the feature actually. Feature is nothing but feature is a tabular column actually. Here you see a column, tabular column actually, and which contains data. Actually, it's a set of data which is you call the features. And here also say the target value. So what is target value? Target value is nothing but you want to predict which mosquitoes are abundance, or how much abundance here appears in there in northeastern Thailand. So I want to discuss the feature. Feature is I've already told the data set, tabular data set, and here is the many tabular data sets. One is sorry. One is the socio-economics data, and another is climate change and dengue knowledge attitude practice, and one is landscape, which is the satellite image, and combined all. Combined all means that this all data are aggregately provided there. So is the data, you can say that is our, in a word, is a feature actually. So my target is to predict or to find the abundance of the Aedes aegypti, actually the female Aedes aegypti. So first of all, I want to classify it to two sectors, such as the high and low. If you check it, or if you divide it, high 50% data and low 50%. Actually, you intersected two part ratio. You can say also ratio, the 100% ratio, 50 by 50. So here the high or low abundancy. So target value is how can I, which can I be detected, or how much abundance in here appears. So I can use the some mechanism. Here's the beauty of, you can say the beauty of machine learning language. Actually, here you saw some mechanism. One is the AN, artificial neural network. One is the KNN, neighbors, nearest neighbor, and SVM. Here's the surface vector exchange and the logistic regression. So it's the mechanism. Actually, it's some process to
Mr.
predict.
Murshid, you are taking too much time. Maybe you can short your presentation and finish as early as possible.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So this the mechanism, and I want to predict this mechanism, and it's the indicators of predictions, and this is the two dividation of the rock analysis and confusion matrix. So rock analysis is the receiving operating characteristics here. So this is the main theme of my presentations here. So next slide is the result. Here the result is you have already seen their important socioeconomic knowledge, aptitude, practice, and landscape factors in the predicting female adult eligibility in abundance. So you can say this appear the abundance of this data. So right now I want to say the limitations of the study. Fine scale climate data such as temperature, rainfall, and humidity variables are not incorporated, but which are known to impact mosquito densities. Actually, it's the impact of my study. So conclusion, so the random forest model predicting female adult eligibility abundance in based on socioeconomic knowledge, attitudes, practice, and landscape factors in 128 households in northeastern Thailand. Moreover, dengue prevention practice were found to be important predictor of the Egypt abundance. The proposed random forest model might be used for the large-scale predicting mosquitoes abundance in other location and other vectors born, including dengue. So this is all of my today's presentation actually. So if you have any questions, you can raise your voice and ask me. I'm trying from my best. So thank you so much for your artist interest and attention. Thank you everybody. So that's all.
Okay, Mr. Murshid Alam, for your nice presentation, but there are some limitation of your presentation. You have to mention where the paper was published, right? And who is the author of the paper. So there is some ethical issues over there. So you have to mention the author's name as well. Okay.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
the
yes.
upcoming presenter, I'd like to request you all to show one slide at least where the paper has been published, right? So you have to show this is an ethical issue in the research. Anyway, if you have any question, dear audience, I'd like to request you for your question. Aziz
Yes,
bhai,
হ্যাঁ সিদ্দিক কেমন আছো?
আছি ভালো ভাই, ভালো আছেন না?
এই তো আছি ভালো। তোমার ইনিশিয়েটিভটা খুব ভালো লাগছে। ওরা কি সবাই ফোর্থ ইয়ারে নাকি মাস্টার্সে?
ওরা ফোর্থ ইয়ারে ভাই।
গুড, ভেরি গুড। এই স্টেজে শুরু করছে এবং পাবলিশ হয়ে গেছে, এটা অনেক ইন্সপায়ারেবল এবং আমি খুবই মানে আশাবাদী যে তুমি এই গ্রুপটা নিয়ে অনেক দূরে যেতে পারবে। আমি আসলে যে প্রেজেন্টেশন দিয়েছি এবং যারা দিবে তাদেরকে অবশ্যই ধন্যবাদ জানাই। আমার জাস্ট দু একটা কোয়েরি আছে এই প্রেজেন্টেশনে। জাস্ট শুরুতেই যে বিষয়টা আছে সে সোশিও ইকোনমিক কিছু ভেরিয়েবল ইউজ করছে। ওই স্লাইডটা যদি একটু যাওয়া যেত একটু সুবিধা হতো। সোশিও ইকোনমিক ভেরিয়েবল যেখানে ও লিস্ট করেছে, বেশ কিছু লিস্ট করেছে সোশিও ইকোনমিক ভেরিয়েবলস। If you can go through that slides where you mentioned some kind of socio-economic variables like household income, like social income, right? So if you go through that slide, it will be helpful for you to describe.
Murshid, go back the slides.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. Here is some problem actually.
What you can describe them.
Okay, sir.
where you mentioned some kind of socioeconomic variables.
Sir, please wait, sir, some moment.
I think the flow chart, something like that, the flow chart you
Yes,
show.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, I
Here,
think this one. So you have to
yes.
mention the socioeconomic variables. What kind of socioeconomic variables used in this study?
Yeah.
Sir, here socioeconomic.
No. Socioeconomic variables you mentioned just previous slide, maybe. Maybe the previous slide. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, here I show that you are using household income, socioeconomic status.
Yes,
So
sir.
far, I know that socioeconomic status is measured based on the household income. So those two variables are correlated. How can you tackle this kind of multi-correlating in machine learning model? That's the one question. Second question is you have used support vector machine and then logistic regression, KNN, RNN, maybe, so, and the random forest method. So do you know what is random forest methods, how it is differ, and why it is performed better compared to other? Can you explain?
So obviously, sir, the socio
Sure.
here. Yes, sir. First question is that socioeconomic income, how much is correlated actually here? So I have already here, you can see, sir, here, urban, rural, residence, education status, household income, social. Actually, sir, if you look at our city, actually, with our capital, actually. So here's you notice that before I said, here's the Danish system. And if our income, actually, household income or social status is so much rich, and we can easily, sir, take initiative.
Moshe, maybe I can help you. First of all, the paper did not include the income variable. First of all, the socioeconomic status was calculated based on the WHO definition, wealth index. So this was calculated using the factor analysis and the principal component analysis. And this is a method.
Definitely socioeconomic status based on, because this is a latent variable, I know that it is based on some other variables. And what income is the another variable where they use the socioeconomic status in the World Health Organization. Do you know that?
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So then these two variables are highly correlated, and that's why in public health research, this is highly suggested that once you use only the income variable, either socioeconomic status, not both.
Exactly.
So in that case, your model will be multi-correlated problem. That's the one. That's why I'm just asking you, how do you tackle in the machine learning models, right? Because machine learning models couldn't identify this kind of multi-correlated, right? So you have to identify previously which data series you are going to use and what is the behind logic, why I'm using this. So that's why I'm just suggesting you that next time maybe you should compare, or you should aware about that whether the variables are highly correlated, right? So in that case, you should check out the multicollinearity and then avoid any one. Just use one variables which are similar, like proxy variables, right? Then the second question that I already, that how random forest is different from the other models.
Sir, actually,
not in this slide. Next slide.
Okay, sir.
Next slide.
Yes, sir. This slide.
Yeah, how random forest, I found that your random forest performs better, okay, compared to all other models like logistic regression, support vector machine, KNN, ANN, right, and the random forest.
Yes,
how random forest is different from all other models. So far, I know that the random forest model is an ensemble method, like kind of, it's an ensemble of decision tree. 100,000s of decision tree you run, and then you created the average of that decision tree's output that comes into the random forest. So that's an average or as ensemble method. But logistic regression is a single model, support vector machine is a single model, KNN is a single model, ANN is a single model. So you are comparing an ensemble method compared to the single model. So that means definitely your random forest model will perform better. So what's the logic? Why you are choosing the logistic regression? Why not you choose the another ensemble model like you said that the classification, matrix classification, or some other classifications techniques, right? So why you are using just random forest compared to the other single models? That's why my concern is, because I know that most of the papers they use the random forest, but behind the logic is that obviously random forest will perform better because it's an average model, right? But the other models are single models. So when you compare to the average model compared to the single model, you know always average model will perform because single models is single, only one, like one observation. But when you compare to the all, combine all the information or all the models into a single model, that's the random forest model. That's called the average model. So average model will perform better, definitely, in terms of ROC, in terms of confusion metrics, right? And that's the random forest model is always performed. But the logic is that where should I use, what should I use, why this performs better, you should know the logic, why it performs better. That's the question. You can just answer it because it's an average or ensemble model. That's why it performs better compared to other models. But my suggestion is that don't compare single model with the average models. If you compare, then definitely compare average model with another average model, not the single models. Most of the machine learning papers, they are doing so, but it's not the logic. Because if you find the best paper like artificial intelligence journal paper, you can go through that. They suggested that if you compare the random forest model to logistic regression or support vector machines, then should not use random forest, use decision tree. Use decision tree, not random forest. If you use random forest, then you should use definitely another average model. So that's my suggestions. Because I'm just to give you that you have to know that how should you go forward, right? So that's why, because at the beginning, if you know that, then you will not do any wrong analysis or any wrong, pick up any wrong model, right? So that's the main thing. Okay. So very good initiative and very good presentation. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ajay Rohan bhai, thank you very much for your some great suggestions so far. We learned from you. And I'd like to introduce you, Ajay Rahman. He's a faculty member of Jahangirnagar University. Right now, he's in Canada, University of Manitoba, and he's doing his PhD there. And as far as I know, he's doing the same thing like the public health research. So, Ajay Rahman, I'd like to thank you again for your encouraging words. Okay, so Murshid Alam, you should take those suggestions from Ajay Rahman bhai, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Sure.
you can use or you can implement those ideas in your upcoming research. Okay. So thank you very much, Murshid, for your nice presentation. Now you can stop sharing your screen. Now I'd like to request Mithasu Jannat Amrin for your presentation. And the title is Utilization of Machine Learning Methods or Models to Accurately Predict the Risks for Critical COVID-19. The floor is yours.
Can you see my slide?
Yeah, we can see your slide. Try to enlarge your slide.
Yes.
Good.
Is it okay?
Yeah, is it okay and clearly visible? You can start now.
Okay. Thanks, sir, for giving me the floor to present my selected paper in this virtual seminar on machine learning application in handling the infectious disease. Good morning, everyone. This is very exciting presentation. This is a very exciting seminar, I think. And now I would like to introduce myself. This is Mithasu Amrin, final year student of Statistics Department, Begum Roka University, Rangpur. My student ID is 1610009. And I'm very excited to deliver my presentation in front of all of you. And now I am gonna presenting my selected paper. The selected paper is entitled by utilization of machine learning models to accurately predict the risk for critical COVID-19. And this paper is published on 18 August 2020 from Springer in Internal Emergency Medicine Journal. That's all about my selected paper. Then I would like to introduce about the background of this paper. We all know that in December 2019, a novel pathogen emerged in China, and then it is recognized as COVID-19 to us by World Health Organization. And it is declared a global pandemic. And we all know that it is a very contagious disease. And this pandemic has great public health threat. And in the rationale of this study, we all know that in mid-2020, terrifying environment was made for COVID-19 pandemic. And on that time, there was absence of effective triage. Here, triage means the prioritization of patient care based on illness, injury, or severity, like cancer or another disease. Just like COVID-19 is this triage. And then need to emphasize on effective risk prediction tools. And in the context of risk stratification, machine learning models generate better performance than traditional prediction models. And then in this case, it was crucial to use different types of machine learning model for risk stratification of patients with COVID-19. And in this study, there were some objectives also, and first one is to test capabilities of machine learning models for triage of patients with COVID-19, then identify the significant features, and then determine the risk stratification. Here, a feature means significant variables, you all know that. And here, the methods are presented of this study. And first section is about population, patient selection, inclusion, and exclusion criteria. And here, in this study, cross-sectional retrospective study was occurred from March 8 to April 2020 in a tertiary medical care. Tertiary medical care center means a hospital with specialized care. And then firstly, 6,995 patients were evaluated at the emergency ward at Sheba Medical Center during the study period. And then 6,820 patients are excluded for non-COVID for the detection of COVID negative. And then finally, 162 confirmed COVID-19 non-severe patients were admitted, and according to some criteria. The criteria is mentioned here. The RR value, that means RR means respiratory rates, is greater than or equal 30 beats per minute, and then arterial oxygen saturation is less than or equal 93%, and then fraction of inspiration oxygen or arterial oxygen partial pressure is less than or 300. After this criteria, this study detected some population that the value is 162, and then here in this study, here used three different types of machine learning models. First one is artificial neural network, and I want to tell something about artificial neural network in public health perspective. And artificial neural network is a supervised machine learning method, and here it helps to inform healthcare management decisions. And here hyperbolic tangent activation functions for hidden layer is used. Here hidden layer means that receives input from another layer and provides output to another layer. You can see the visualization of artificial intelligence, and you can see a pictorial representation of COVID in perspective of COVID-19. Here, COVID-19 pneumonia normal phase is the input layer. Then hidden layer is the mechanism of this study, and then output layer is normal COVID-19 detection of the study, normal COVID-19 or pneumonia, something like that. And here also softmax activation is used to function for the output layer. And then in artificial neural network, and in this study, they used 70% data as training phase data and 30% data as test phase data. And that's all about the artificial neural network. And then random forest classification. This is one kind of machine learning algorithm, and it consisting of many decision trees, like this visualization. And then here two tools are used. First one is bagging. Bagging means the tools, and the goal of bagging is to reduce the variance of a decision tree classification, and in which each decision tree in the forest is trained on a bootstrap sample of the training data. In this study, 50% data were used as a bootstrap sample. I want to clear the bootstrap sample. Bootstrap sample is a statistical procedure that resample a single data set to create many simulated samples. And the other tools is used for random forest classification is called random feature selection, in which random forest randomly selected subset of features for decision rules at each node. Here in this study, 20% of holdout test data are used. And then classification and regression tree. And I would like to tell something about classification and regression tree from perspective of this study. And classification and regression tree is used to iterative classification method for automatic feature selection, and also predict the target variables by splitting rules to classify the population into homogeneous classes. And here, tenfold cross-validation, we check the validation of the machine learning model was used for model testing and validation in this study. And here is the statistical analysis and which was occurred in this study. And there was a demographic variable, there were some demographic and clinical variable, and descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics are presented with mean, standard deviation, median, and ranges. Then group comparison. Group comparison among the variables are tested by student t-test, and non-parametric comparison were tested by man-made u-test, and then categorical variable are tested using chi-square test and Fisher-Exact test. And here also used ROC AUC. ROC means ROC AUC, area under curve, and sensitivity, specificity, PPV, and PPV, that means positive predictive value, negative NPV means negative predictive value. ROC analysis used to evaluate the association of different variables with critical COVID-19 infection, and cutoff of the optimal prediction selected using the sensitivity, specificity, and PPV, that means positive predictive value, negative predictive value, and accuracy. And comparison of predictive ability, I would like to again mention the comparison of predictive ability was performed based on F1 score and MCC. MCC means Matthew correlation coefficient. And after checking the value of these things, then the study were concluded based model for COVID-19 risk prediction. That is all about the statistical analysis of this study. And here we can see the table 1 that is represented patients' demographic clinical data comparison of the critical COVID-19 infection groups versus non-critical groups. Here we can see some clinical data based on clinical variable also. And here you can see some p-values, and some values are indicated as bold. And that means these variables, COPD, then RR is the significant feature or variable for the risk prediction of COVID-19. And the significant features are COPD, that means chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, then RR means respiratory rate, and then here the percentage, we can see the comparison of non-critical group and critical group, then we can see that the percentage of COPD and RR and other oxygen saturation group is greater than non-critical group. Sorry, the percentage of COPD then saturation and of critical group is greater than non-critical group. And here also a table that also represented the significant feature for risk prediction of COVID-19 infections. Here we can see the WBC, that means white blood cell count, and also we can see that neutrophils and also sodium, and these are the causes of these are the risk predictors of COVID-19 and significant features of in perspective of COVID-19. And here according to the ROC analysis, that means receiver operating characteristic analysis, the best single predictors was saturation, oxygen saturation. Here we can see that AUC value, P value, C confidence interval, cutoff, sensitivity, specificity, PPV. That means I mentioned before, positive predictive value and negative predictive value, accuracy value, F1 score, and MCC score. After the receiver operating characteristic analysis, we get these values, and according to these values, we can conclude that oxygen saturation, the best single parameter was oxygen saturation of AUC 0.787. That means 78%. That means 78%, and with specificity 75%, PPV 37%, 95.3% NPV, accuracy at 75.8%, and then FSC score yields better perform with AUC of 0.789. And these are and other risk factors, SOFA, that means sequential organ failure assessment, that fell behind the AUC of 55%. That's all about the ROC analysis from this study. And here you can see a graphical representation, and this is the radar plot. The author introduced us about the radar plot, and from this radar plot, the author tried to evaluate the predictive ability of the machine learning model. That means predictive ability of random forest classification, artificial neural network model, and classification and regression tree. And here from a artificial neural network model achieved accuracy improvement of 11% from Apache score with 59% sensitivity, 96.3% specificity, and with ROC AUC area under curve of 92%. And random forest classifier achieved accuracy improvement of 12% with ROC AUC of 93.7%. And the classification and regression tree are also achieved accuracy improvement, and accuracy value is 82%. That's all about the radar plot that evaluate the predictive ability of machine learning model. And from this radar plot analysis, we get random forest classification has good predictive ability in perspective of COVID-19 risk prediction. And here we can observe that from this study, based on random forest model, first random forest classifier model, you can see here the contributory variables were Apache score, white blood cell, oxygen saturation, and the time from symptoms to admission. This is the clinical variable I mentioned before. And then ANN, that means artificial neural network model, evaluated blood lymphocyte count was more contributory than oxygen saturation. That's all about the risk predictions conditions from this study. And there was some limitations also, and the limitations is detected from the author. First one is retrospective single center methodology decreases its external validity, especially considering the high COVID-19 variability between different countries and populations. And then Second one is this study had a small number of patients with severe disease challenging the statistical power. The AI model's diagnostic performance was tested versus best univariate or risk score predictors as no other baseline prediction tools were previously reported. That is the concern of author. And author concluded that artificial intelligence decision supporting tools may serve as the silver bullet in the trials of confirmed COVID-19 patients and recommended that prospective validation is required for enabling the clinical implementation of the study results. That's all about my presentation. Thanks all for hearing me with patience. If you have any query, feel free to ask.
Okay, Amreen, I'd like to thank you for your nice presentation, and the slide was very attractive and it was clearly understandable. Now I'd like to request the participants are here for any query or question. You are welcome.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Please raise.
Thanks for the presentation. It was really a nice presentation, and I enjoyed to listening this presentation. Awesome. My question is that in the slide 7 or 8, I think probably 7, 8, you told that when you analyze artificial neural network, the data set was divided into training and test, and training set included 70% and test set including 30%. And when you perform random forest, the training set contain 80% data and test set 20%. My question is that why the variation? Why you use 70% data in training set for artificial neural network and 80% data split it, use 80% data as trained data set in random forest? Can you explain?
First of all, this is not my publication or
Oh, no.
paper. It is a publication of other, and from random forest classification, I mentioned that they used 50% bootstrap sample as training data, and artificial neural network they use 70% training phase data and testing phase data 30%. And I mentioned here they use this percentage of data set as a training set and test set data.
So Amreen, maybe I can help you. So the question was about the percentage of splitting your data. The author published this paper, as you mentioned. So, and what was the classification criteria? What was the threshold the author used to split your data? Like how many percent was in the training data? How many percent was in the test data? And do you know any clarification for the splitting of data in machine learning research and how it can be used in machine learning algorithms?
Sir, there was some method, but in
Okay, if you don't know, it's
present,
fine.
I
Maybe
don't
you can.
remind this.
Okay, so we have here Masum Patwari is from California, America. So I'd like to request you, Dr. Masum Patwari, to say some few words.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiq. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You are clearly audible.
Thank you so much. First of all, I joined in the middle of the presentation because of my connection was not supporting me. So can you please give me a bit briefing of this presentation? I mean, I have no idea about the title of the presentation.
Okay, Dr. Masum, the presentation is about some of the published paper published recently during two infectious diseases, COVID-19 pandemic and dengue. And the objective of this conference or online virtual meeting is to let you know about the different mechanism or application, how machine learning models can be used to handle the aforementioned, or as I mentioned, to infectious disease, including COVID-19 and dengue. So in fact, my students are presenting some published paper so that they can have some idea how machine learning models can be used to handle those diseases. Dr. Masum.
Great, thank you. So that means this is from one of your student, am I right?
Exactly. All are the fourth year, second semester students of Begum Roquea University, Rangpur.
So how many presentations will be going on?
So there's gonna be 57 presenters are here today.
Wow. Okay. So I have to be concluded. Actually, the presentation, what she performed, it's a really nice. I would say I'm not a statistician, and I'm not very much sound on a quantitative model or quantitative analysis. But what I have seen in her descriptive statistical analysis, and how she used her machine learning. That's a very new things for me because I'm qualitative person. I would say this could be a very good contribution for the, I mean, COVID research in the world. Thank you so much. That's my comment. Thank you. And I will wait for the next one.
Okay, dear Aziz Bhai, would you like to say something?
Yeah, and just thank you for a nice presentation. Actually, yeah, again, this is a very good initiative. I should thank you to you and your students. Just my one suggestion and one query. The suggestion is that in the slide 7, you use some graphs. I saw, for example, neural networks or something graphs. So these graphs are not drawn by you. You picked somewhere from any book or any article or somehow, whatever it is, you should give the reference. From where you actually put it or from where actually you cut it or any, you should, so any line or any figure where you just take it out, so you should give the reference with that. That means the authors and the publications or something. That's the number one for suggestion. And number two, so far I know that for the machine learning model, we had to actually some suggest that we had to define, partition the data series into 2 parts, some suggest 3 parts. So that means training period, validation data, training data, validation data, and test data. So that means first of all, we develop the data model, that's the training part. Then we validate the model for the validation part. So 10% or 5% data is used mostly for the validation of that model. And then we actually use our model for the prediction. So that's the way actually you should use, you should split the data into 3 parts. Some authors use 2 parts, but most of the authors suggested that how do you validate your model once you develop your model through that training data. So you should keep it up so that next time you should keep in mind with that. The second thing is that I found that you are using a lot of variables and identify which variables are used. So you used in your model all the single variables, not any interaction term in your models. So because this is a biological data series, so you use a lot of variables. There may be a problem of multi-cohérence. There may be a issue of co-integration or integration term, right? So you should also check as well the co-integration term in this model. So that's 2 parts that I just suggest you. You should look out when you finished any paper. So you should look at that. So that's all actually. Thank you.
And by the way,
Sir,
thank
for
you,
your
Dr.
nice recommendation.
Siddiq. Sorry to interrupt. Dr. Siddiq, thank you for inviting me. Thank you. I'm here.
Thank you, Dr. Masum, for your joining. I mean, yeah, I told you, I would like to express my gratitude to Ajizur Rahman Bhai. He's a renowned statistician working in Canada now. So he's really helping us to increase our knowledge regarding the presentation topics are here today. So I hope you will stay here for, I think if your time permits, Mr. Aziz Bhai and Dr. Patwari, you will stay here and encourage our students. So Amreen, I'd like to thank you again for your nice presentation, and you can incorporate the comments from Ajizur Rahman Bhai and Dr. Masum Patwari sir, so maybe you can incorporate in your future research. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Parvez Jaman Reza. He's a student of 4th year 2nd semester, and he's gonna present a paper published, right, in the title of...
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Amreen আপুর কাছে আমার একটা question ছিল.
Oh, really? Okay, you can raise your question.
Hello.
Yeah, raise your question. We can hear you.
How to select the best risk prediction model of COVID-19 regarding this paper? Please explain.
Thank you for your question. I would like to share my slide also and then answer this question. Give me some time, please.
So are you
I
asking
don't understand
me?
the question. The question setter, could you please repeat the question again?
Sir, I understand the question. I would like to answer this.
Are you asking me?
No. Amrin is
Okay.
gonna answer.
Okay.
Amrin, you can repeat the question and you can answer. We didn't really understand what was the question about.
Please say the question again, please, Sanjida. Sanjida, can you hear me?
How to select the best risk prediction model of COVID-19 regarding this paper?
Oh, yes. I got your question.
Maybe I can help you. Did they use some model selection criteria or something?
According the value of accuracy, I see. Wait. Here we get some value according to the ROC analysis, accuracy value, and AUC value, specificity value, and PPV and NPV value. And according to the percentage of accuracy value, and which percentage is greater is then we can conclude that this is the best model to predict. And according to the AUC percentage and other specificity, PPV and NPV value, and for random forest model, the percentage of accuracy value and sensitivity value, specificity value, and PPV and NPV value is greater than other two models. That's why here the author can conclude that random forest is the best classification model for risk prediction of COVID-19. Are you clear, Sanjida? Hello?
Yes, Apu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there is any other question, if it is not, please stop sharing your screen, Miss Amrin, and I'd like to invite you, Mr. Parvez Jaman Reza, to present his presentation topic today, and the topic is outbreak prediction of COVID-19 for dense and populated countries using machine learning. Amrin, stop sharing your screen.
Thank you, sir, for giving me an opportunity to present my paper.
Amrin, stop sharing your screen. What?
Hey, stopped already. I have
Yeah, Reza,
stopped
please
already.
proceed. Reza, please proceed.
A very good morning to everyone here present in the seminar of our paper.
Make the slide larger.
Can you please make it slideshow? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiqur Rahman, sir, for giving me an opportunity to present in today's seminar. My paper is about the outbreak of COVID-19 prediction of dense populated country. Now I'm going to start my presentation. So about implement learning.
Reza, your internet connectivity is not good. Mahin, are you here?
Our article title is Outbreak of Prediction.
Mahin,
Yes, sir.
so maybe you can present first. There are some internet connectivity issues with Reja, so you can fix your connectivity and you can come up again. So now I would like to request Mahin Adnan to present his topic.
I have internet connectivity.
Reja, please stop sharing your screen and you can come later. Mahin, share your screen. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving me a chance to present my selected topics. My selected topics is analysis of the effectiveness of face covering on the death ratio of COVID-19 using machine learning. My selected paper is analysis of the effectiveness of face covering on the death ratio of COVID-19 using machine learning. It received 22 May 2011, 2021 and accepted 18 October 2021 and published online 4 November 2021. A background. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has affected millions of people worldwide and led to the tragic death of many innocent lives. The lack of treatment, many people die without any treatment, and limitation of and shortage of medication, and people not people not aware of their they are maintaining social distance, washing hands, wearing face cover. Our authors give a give a research paper on the on the U.S. coastal area, west coastal area, and owing to the high transmission rate only in the US, the number of new daily cases increased from 6 to 22,562 during March 2020, according to CDC, Central for Disease Control and Prevention. Controlling environment factors involved in the spread of COVID-19 are very challenging and sometimes impossible. As a result, state officials began to impose legislative guidelines, including mandatory use of masks and closure of business such as bar, restaurant, and shutting down different business has been sporadic due to its adverse economic impact, but obligatory face covering order is still in effect across to the US. In this respect, the effectiveness of facial masks gains further importance and requires scientific studies. Presenting a model that can measure the effectiveness of the mask mandate order can pave the way for government to take decisive action during pandemic. Many previous publications have tried to address the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical intervention during pandemics, particularly for the spread of influenza. Deterministic models have been widely used to study the effect of facial masks on the reproduction number. Indeed, the face mask is taken into count by its role in reducing the transmission per contact. Some studies suggest that the use of a face mask does not sustainably affect influenza transmission, and there is little evidence in favor of the effectiveness of facial masks. As the COVID-19, the efficiency of the facial mask in impeding the effectivity of the SARS-CoV-2 remains unclear. The other studies also pinpoint that the public use of a facial mask may reduce the spread of COVID-19. Despite those findings, the efficacy of face masks remains controversial. Recently, some studies have tried to investigate the severity of COVID-19 with its load, where they found that the load tightly correlates with the severity. However, another study suggests that no such correlation exists. That's why we use ML and AI, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to find out what will happen. Objectives in this proposed work utilize different machine learning classification algorithm. We aim to unveil how to change in the mortality rate correlates with certain features. The features will be chosen in a way. That's why we reflect evidence by max mandate order in different counties. We will use the data provided by CDC to find the average monthly monthly number of COVID-19 cases. We will using the data for 1 month after and 1 month before executive order for each preventive measures for the three states: California, Oregon, Washington on the US West Coast.
Mahin, could you please, Mahin, we already
sir.
know the background and objective of your paper. Could you please go quickly, especially the result and concluding remarks?
There are three study area. There are three states now: California, Oregon, and Washington. Data collection: we collected data from US facts. The raw data set from the daily cases and death for all the US for the US countries over time is extracted from the US facts website, where the data level data is confirmed by the state and local agencies directly. After obtaining the daily values of death and cases number from a month before and month after max mandate order, we divide the monthly average number of death by the monthly average number of cases. Here variable used four main features are choose as a primary indicator, which is the county population, median
Mahin, I would like to request you to go quickly to show the important results from your paper.
Okay, sir.
And the sentence are very long, it's very difficult to understand. You can just summarize your result and you can conclude your presentation. Thank you very much.
Sir. Here author use some method in machine learning. The ML methods use logistic regression, naive Bayes classifier in random forest, extra trees, extreme boosting method, and support vector KNN, K nearest neighbor decision tree, and neural network. Here the data set also is split into two types: training and test. Training data set 80% and test data set 20%. Here we can see some table. Some people who never used marks here and rarely use marks, and sometimes use marks and frequently, and who always use marks, and death ratio there. Now, after marks mandatory, see a histogram of change in the death ratio of three states. Here we can see that after marks mandatory, death reduce, means decrease, and result here we also visualized from each county. You can see there's the change of death ratio per county, and here we take we correlation the correlation between the features population, education, median income, and people use marks, and their graph is here. we can see that the correlation between them. Here we can see in visualize graph average education level and change in death ratio. Here they are same, and here we can see that average median income and change death ratio, and average population and change in death ratio. There is the result. California, 1 month before March mandatory order, the daily cases was California, Washington, and Oregon. After 1 month March mandatory, we can see that they are reduced and change their rate. Here we can also see that change in the average cases and change in the average death. Here we used also standard deviation 95%, 95% cluster interval, and we also when we test this data.
Mine, could you please go to the conclusion section and the recommendation by your paper? The summary, yes.
The sorry, here the measure area under coverage values that the naive Bayes algorithm leads to the best prediction. The area under coverage values are also in agreement with the testing accuracy as shown in table 4. Where is the naive Bayes algorithm has the highest testing accuracy, 94%. The tense of the high accuracy on the test dating signifies the existence of a pattern between the chosen features and the change in the death ratio in this proposal model. And here some limitation we present here are the valid only for the specific geographic location, which is in the study was the west coast of the United States. After analyzed, we can see random forest model, exhibits model, decision tree, and naive Bayes model are the best performance with a classification accuracy of around 90%. The results show a connection between adherence to the marks mandate and change in the death ratio in the majority of studied counties. So that's all my presentation, sir.
Okay, mine, thank you. But the slide, next time, try to coincide your slide, okay? The reader will not be attracted at all if your sentence is very long and you did not even use any pictorial representation. You have to use so many flowcharts, right? To make the understand of the audience, like these are clearly visible and understandable. What you did, just copied all the sentences from your paper and it looks very boring, okay? I think next time you can overcome your limitation, right? And you can adjust the presentation slides in a good way, right? So that the reader can have some attraction towards your presentation. So dear audience and participants, if you have any question, you can raise to the presenter, Mr. Mahin Adnan. Go back to the title of your presentation. Any question from the participants? First year student, third year student? Even you can ask like the basic question, what is the outcome of this research? If you don't really understand what is the research is about, try to ask question to upgrade your knowledge. No question?
Sir, I want to ask some question.
Please.
What is the goal of this research?
Exactly. Very good question indeed.
The goal of this research is uh, uh, government declare a mandate, mask mandate. So, people after using masks, what will happen in the research area? And the authors give us a result that 1 month before mask mandate and 1 month after mask mandate, the change of death ratio is given positive. People after mask mandate, the death can become reduced. That's
Okay,
I have a
thank
question.
you.
Sir,
Yes.
I have a question. By this presentation, about this presentation, I want to ask about machine learning model. Which machine model is the best of death ratio of COVID-19? Please tell me
night-based
about that.
night-based model.
What is the reason?
What is the reason is we just input here authors input data and machine learning gives outcome. I mean, I can't tell you why, because it's it's doing machine learning, artificial intelligence gives us this result from this.
No, mind, this is not the correct answer. May we request Azizur Rahman, sir, could you please give some glimpse of the idea why the naive-based classifier is like predicted very good? Azizur Rahman, sir, are you here?
Oh, thank you. Actually, I missed some part of the presentation, but so far I know that the naive Bayes actually considered the probabilistic idea. So you know that the Bayesian idea. So the probabilistic idea in risk prediction is compared to, because it's considered some kind of variable distribution. So it's kind of modeling predictions, right? So based on the model or based on the underlying distribution. So naive Bayes distributions or naive Bayes techniques, that's why some situation it performs better compared to other models, because other models mostly based on the distance-based idea, but rather than the Bayes models is actually kind of the distributions or the maximum likelihood estimations criteria is used here in the under the Bayesian framework. So that's why sometimes Bayesian or naive Bayes is perform better compared to others. That's all.
Thank you, Azizur Rahman bhai, for your interesting idea why the naive-based classifier predicts very well here. So dear audience or the participants, if you don't have any further question, maybe we can proceed to the next presenter, and the next presenter is Madhavi Rani Roy. So Madhavi Rani, I'd like to request you to present your presentation topic today.
Dr. Siddiq,
Yes.
can you hear me? This is Masoom.
Okay, so sir, please proceed.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Before going to Madhavi, I'm just trying to give you overall a solid, I would say, comments on Mahin's presentation, and I believe that would be helpful for all of the presenters. That is, Mahin, whenever you think to present something, think like you are going to present something, like it would be a video. It would not only just audio. If you present to the audience some kind of just only reading stuff, people will be bored, because just put yourself in the audience positions, how it feels. You just showing your paper and just go reading. It's not like that. You will say just a very brief, first of all, your title and why you are choosing this, why you choose this paper, and what would be the objectives of or main of your presentation, and then your presented paper or sampled paper, you need to explain that one and then directly go to the methodology, which methods you have used or they have applied, and then you will go to the final results. It could be graph, it could be table, or it could be some pictorial data, whatever else. And you will just tell the people like a story, not just going through or not just reading like that. So that's not only for Mahid, that's for all the participants. And in the conclusions, you don't need to tell who invented those machine learning model or blah, blah, blah. You can just put on a reference, that's it. And then you just make some of your own concluding comments. There is a conclusion or conclusive comments on the paper, but why you are presenting, there is a two issues, one from the paper and the other one what you have learned and what is your epistemology say. So that would be the main point that audience are waiting for to hear. So that's not only for Mahid, that's for everyone. And please make it more pictorial, more schematic diagram, more thematic diagram, or the graph or chart. So, and I cannot ask you like, why did you choose the only or particularly 3 states like California and then Oregon and Washington, possibly, because of they have chosen, I mean, authors already choose. So you have to tell the audience why author choose that particular 3 states among 52 states. So that's need we actually waiting for. So that's not only for you. And the statisticals part, I'm not making any comments because there is Dr. Aziz, I think, and he is a renowned statistician. So he is commenting on that and just making some comments on overall the presentations. And I believe that would be helpful for all the participants. Thank you, Dr. Siddiq. May I know, is there any like break or anything, something like this, so that we can go and have some do our personal stuffs, or it will be go on continuously?
Thank you, Dr. Masum. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your encouraging words. So regarding the presentation, really it was very helpful. So the students can learn how to set up the slides for the presentation. So this is the starting, in fact. So we hope our students will do better in the future time. Yes, as per your question, we will have some breaks after 1 hour. So if you want to go, you can go, maybe you can join again. So we have a break at 12 noon today, 1 hour. So we'll begin shortly in 1 p.m. Bangladeshi time.
So you said 12, so it means like more 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Yeah,
exactly.
Am I right?
We are going to continue.
Okay, so in the meantime, I will take an off and we'll back again. Thank you so much. Madhubi, sorry to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Masum. So yes, now I'd like to request Madhubi Rani Roy to present her topic entitled Machine Learning Applications in Hand. Sorry, could you please go back to your topic, Madhubi Rani?
Sir. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go back to your topic.
Okay, sir. I will tell.
Okay, the topic is like data analysis of COVID-19 pandemic and short-term cumulative case forecasting using machine learning time series method. So the participants, I think, will enjoy presentation from Madhubi Rani Roy. So Madhubi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the floor. I'm very glad to be a presenter in this virtual seminar on machine learning application in handling the infectious disease. Hello, everyone. You all are cordially welcome in my presentation. I'm Madhubi Rani Roy, ID 1610017, session 2016-17, Department of Statistics, Begum Rock University, Rangpur. Today, the title of my selected paper is Data Analysis of COVID-19 Pandemic and Short-Term Cumulative Case for Forecasting Using Machine Learning and Time Series Method. This paper is published on 28 November 2020 in Elsevier publisher, and the author is Sarken Belli. We all know the COVID-19 pandemic has exploded since cases were first reported in China in December 2019. Spread all over the world after February 2020. In a short time, it became the biggest pandemic the world has seen in the last century. The objectives of this paper is to introduce machine learning and time series methods using COVID-19 dataset for global, Germany, and USA. Another objective is to forecast the epidemic trend using machine learning methods and time series model to obtain the disease curve. And another objective is to diagnose the behavior of cumulative COVID-19 data over time. So here we can see that the author was combinedly work with time series model and machine learning. Now the method and materials section. At first I'm gonna discuss about materials. The data of COVID-19 between 20 January 2020 to 18th September 2020 for USA, Germany, and global were taken from World Health Organization website. Dataset consists of weekly confirmed cases and weekly cumulative confirmed cases for 35 weeks. We know in machine learning, we split data into two groups. One is training and another is test data. In this study, 18th weeks were used for training and 17th weeks as test data. Now let's talk about methods. For machine learning methods used here in this paper, there are random forest, linear regression, multi-layer perceptron, and support vector machine. Random forest method is a popular supervised learning technique employed for regression and classification. It is an assembled learning method. The classifier represents a decision tree, and outputs by n decision trees are obtained using this method. All outcomes are estimated by voting. Random forest is a simple and easy method for using parallel. Then linear regression. Linear regression is a basic and simple approach used to find the relationship between variable consisting of numerical data. Then multi-layer perceptron. Multi-layer perceptron is a feed-forward artificial neural network model consists of 3 layers: output, hidden, and input. Multi-layer perceptron uses a back propagation, supervised learning, machine learning techniques. Then support vector machine. Support vector machine is a machine learning techniques. Instead of using a nonlinear function for regression, it tests to predict the regression employing a linear function in a large space. It's also a supervised machine learning supervised machine learning model. Then objectives on then description of this descriptive statistics. Sorry. So we took 8-month period from 20 January 2020 to 18 September 2020, the data of this period. From this data, we got this descriptive statistics. Here we can see a global average is 881.504, and the standard deviation is close to the mean. This closeness is also sorry, why this is happened. Sorry, this closeness is also applicable for USA and Germany. we can see that mean and standard deviation is very close here. And minimum and maximum cases are also given in this table. And if we see in the skewness, there is a positive skewness in Germany and negative skewness in USA. So this positive skewness of Germany means that there is a longer tail on the right. And or if you see in the kurtosis, Germany has positive kurtosis and USA and global data have negative kurtosis. It shows that the distribution for Germany with large kurtosis displays that exceeds the tail of the normal distribution. And here the histogram of weekly cases for global, Germany and USA. The probability plot. Here in table 2, goodness of fit for different distribution is conducted. Here the distribution name is normal, log normal, exponential, 2-parameter exponential, variable, 3-parameter variable, smallest extreme values, largest extreme values, gamma, logistic. And the AD value here represents the Anderson-Darling test values. It is a measure of the deviation between the fitted line of the distribution and the data point. And the p-values is the probability showing that the data from the distribution. In order to choose the best distribution here, we have to accept the AD value is low and the p-value is high. So if we see in the table 2, we can see the combination of largest extreme value. Here the AD value is lowest and p-value is high. So we can say that this largest extreme value distribution is best fitted here. And the probability for weekly global cases, these plotted are given in the right of this slide. And the estimated distribution parameter of the weekly global cases are shown in the table number 3. And time series plot for the global cases. Here we can see that SBM model, then multi-layer perceptron and linear regression are plotted in this plot of figure 5. According to the forecasts in figure 5, the global pandemic will peak at the end of the January 2021. Estimated approximately 80 million people will be cumulatively infected by using SBM model. Approximately 98 million people will be infected according to the linear regression method. And for the multi-layer perceptron method, approximately 39 million people will be infected. It is a forecasting. Similarly, for the Germany, figure 6 shows the future trend for cumulative case data for Germany will peak at the end of January 2021. Approximately 580,000 people will be cumulatively affected by using SBM method. Approximately 1 million people will be infected according to the linear regression model. And for the multi-layer perceptron method, 330,000 people will be infected. For the time series plot for USA, according to forecasting figure 7, USA will peak at the end of the January 2020. Estimated approximately 11 million people will be cumulatively affected by using SBM method. According to linear regression method, it enters a downward trend and approaches 0. This is not a realistic estimation. So we can see there is a limitation to predict this plot. Linear regression model failed to predict to forecast this data of USA. And multi-layer perceptron, according to the multi-layer method, 6 million people will be infected. So from the above 3 plot time series, we can conclude that SVM model provides comparatively better result than the other 2 models. Then from the table 4, we can see that comparison of the method: random forest method, linear regression method, multi-layer perception method, and SVM model. For these 4 methods, we are gonna see the value. MAE represents mean absolute error. MAPE represents mean absolute percentage error, and RMSC represents root mean square error. If we see SVM model and linear regression model, they have very close MAPE and RMSE value. Here we can see in linear regression, MAPE value is 0.1853, and the MAPE value in SVM model is 0.1246. And similarly, RMSE value of linear regression is 21 crore 81 lakhs 66,988, and the RMSE value of SVM model is 25 crore 82 lakhs 58 1,366. So this is these 2 things are very close, and give us the best value. Similarly for Germany and USA also. But in MLP method, multi-layer perception method, there is a very large value in MAP and RMSE, which is not acceptable. And the random forest method has also failed to predicting the features, because the value of MAE, MAPE, and RMSE is extremely large, and it is not acceptable and not valid. Here, the time series prediction model is used to obtain the disease curve and forecast the epidemic trend using machine learning methods. Limitations. So there are some limitations in this paper. This study is disclosed that there must be needed more extensive study, and further research is expected to provide the most appropriate method for healthcare professionals to control and prevent future epidemics. Now, conclusion. Now we have to take a decision. From this entire discussion, it is seen that SVM method provides the best performance for the global, Germany, and USA data. It is the method with the lowest value for root mean square error, MAP, and APE value. It is absolutely seen that SVM achieves the best trend for all the data. Thank you. That's all about my presentation. If you have any query, then feel free to ask me.
Madhavi, normally after the presentation, you have to go back to the title so that the audience can see, take a look over your title. I'm repeating this thing many times. For the next presenter, what you can do, you can just directly go back to the title so that the audience or participants can raise some questions. So I'd like to draw the attention of the participants are here. If anybody.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, you have already mentioned a statistical term, linear regression, in your previous slide. So my query is, why we use linear regression in machine learning for the COVID-19 cases?
Linear regression is a simple approach we used to forecast the future that depending based on the independent variables. We try to know about the changes. So sorry. If we change the independent variable by one unit, then how the dependent variable will change. And for this linear regression model, we can predict also the future, what will be the future values. In this paper, we try to forecast the active cases, what will be the active cases in the January 2021. And then this linear regression method can
Madhavi, he's a
what-
very first year student, and the question was very logical, I guess.
Yes, sir.
The question was about, I think the paper used normal linear regression. What is the superiority of machine learning model comparing to the simple linear regression model? So what is your thoughts? The question was like that. Why they use linear regression model?
Sir, to forecast the active cases in January 2021, what will be the amount of cases, active cases?
So at the end, they didn't find the linear regression as the best model or not.
No, sir. Here,
Why? What's the reason? That was the question. Like, what is the differences?
because the value is not that much good. Sir, I can. Okay. Sir, give me a minute, please.
Why you are using machine learning models? Whether you have linear regression, you have some other regression as well, traditional ordinal OLS regression, right? So why you are using
Yes,
machine learning models rather than using some simple linear regression model? You don't know.
Sir, a simple linear regression model, there is good for MAP values and RMSE values, but it failed to predict the
What?
plot, time series plot. Here,
No.
for
You
the
are
USA
not
cases.
in the direction. Maybe Aziz bhai can help you. Why the machine learning model?
Actually, that's a good question actually, and
He's a first year
also so
student.
far that's good, very good. He has a different kind of thoughts. I appreciate his thoughts. So so far I understand so far that any machine learning methods, if you want, if you use different models, so in that case they use very basic to advanced, so that they developed that how the very basic model is not performing that complex situation of the data. Because when a data is complex, so definitely the simple model will not perform. We need more complex models, right, to capture the complexities of the data. You know, I don't know whether this paper, I didn't read that paper, or whether this paper in the linear regression model, what is their independent variable? Naturally, for this case, when the time series use, they usually just simply use the t as the time variable as an independent variable. I don't know whether they use any other variables here or not. If they use the simple t, that means they're just using the forecasting the what would be the next week's value from just inputting the time as a variable, as an input variable. So any machine learning model starts with the simple one, then gradually they actually forward to the complex model because to capture the complexity of the data. So that's the main reason why they are using the simple linear regression model. And here it shows that somehow it performs similar to the support vector machine. So that means that simple model also captured the same things, right? But the main question is that what I understand is that since they are considering the data as a time series data, so they didn't consider the autocorrelation term, because you know that the time series data, the previous series value, that means the previous value is somehow correlated with the next value, or next value is somehow correlated with the previous value, right? So that kind of autocorrelation term they didn't consider here. So far I know that there is an advanced method called LSTM, that is long and short-term memory analysis for such kind of machine learning methods. If you compare not the simple linear regression method, if you use the LSTM compared to the suppose vector machine, then you will find that the LSTM will perform better because they consider the autocorrelation term in their model. So this is the advanced model, but they didn't use it, they didn't consider it. They didn't also consider the autocorrelation term in any of the models. So which is mostly important part of the time series data. As we know that if you read some kind of time series courses, or if you take some kinds of courses, so then you will easily identify that the autocorrelation term, PC partial autocorrelation, those are the term that they use when the series of the data are correlated, and if you consider the data as a time series. So that's the drawback of this paper. So far I know that in terms of analysis, and in terms of linear regression they use, because they want to start from the simple to advanced, and they fortunately found that that linear regression model performs almost similar to the support vector machine, but they suggest to use the support vector machine, not the linear regression model. That's they suggested. So, but any of the methods, they didn't consider the autocorrelation term, because the series is time series. If we consider the series as a time series, so definitely you should consider the autocorrelation term as a modeling structure. So that's my suggestions, and that's my understanding what I can say about this.
Thank you, Ajish Bhai, for your understanding concept regarding the question raised by the first year student. So in a nutshell, I can tell you, like, we are drowning in data, but starving for knowledge. So that is the main thing, the dimensionality of your data. So as Aziz Bhai told you, the problem, like the structure of your data is really complex nowadays. And what you can do, you cannot even conclude that this model is perfect. Nobody knows even. So you have to discover, you have to improve the model, and that is the innovation you need to reconsider as a statistician. So you can apply many models, you can tune your parameter, that means called the hyperparameter tuning. You can improve the model by hybrid model or assembling model. Lots of modeling are coming. So you have to take an eye of the recent research is going on based on your objective, based on the research problem. You have to use the new idea or new model, and finally you have to select the best model, right? So this is the improvement. So as a machine learning modeler, you need to show some improvement. What is the improvement in your research, right? So there are many ideas. So the dear students, if you have any query, maybe you can contact.
So I just want to add, Siddiq, if you don't mind, I just want to add that, you see, so far you know that the methods that you are going to use or study about the machine learning, all are depends on the data. Exactly. So if your data is not good, so that means whatever data you have to very fast for using at the beginning of the analysis, you have to use the data validity. Whether you use the data, whether the data is valid or not, we have to find out this first and then use this data in the model, because machine learning is totally based on the data. Exactly. Totally based on the data. There is no underlying methodology or distribution for assuming this type of data, because if you consider the unsupervised learning, say for example clustering method, these are totally based on data, because the clusters, what the cluster is, the cluster considers the distance between the two data points. So if your data point is not good, so definitely that method will perform bad, right? But whatever in classical approach, that is the model-based clustering, we consider that the data comes from normal, data comes from Gaussian, data comes from exponential. Then we try to feed this data first, and then we take the inference of the of that models, right? So that's the statistician's part, that we must focus on how the data behaves and how the data quality performs in our models, right? So data quality is very much important if you want to use any type of machine learning models or whether statistical models, right? So that's the main important thing you should keep in mind next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajish Bhai, again. I think there is any other question from the student tried to.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please proceed.
Sir, my first question is that the probability plot. In probability plot, what can she show the slide?
What is the slide number, Mr. Arman? As a participants, you have to note down the slide number so that you can directly
she
ask
didn't,
the.
she didn't mention the slide number.
Tell me the slide number. Oh, sorry, she did not mention, right?
Yes, sir.
Participants, you should include the slide number. This is very important so that you can save your time.
Okay, sir. I will try in the next presentation.
Go back to the normal probability plot.
Probability plot.
Okay, probability plot.
Slide.
If you don't know, just say no, then maybe we can proceed the next presenter.
Time series plot.
Next one, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So let's make it bigger.
Table 2. What is the AD values mean? What is AD value mean? Can she explain?
I
Would you please make it bigger?
Told
Would you
that
please
it
make
is
it bigger?
Anderson-Darling test value. Anderson-Darling test value.
What is the interpretation of it? Can you explain?
Sorry. If it is a measure of the deviation between the fitted line of the distribution and data points. And if we search for a best distribution, then we expect that the AD value is low. Then we can call it the distribution is best.
I have another question also. Which model is best for forecasting for individual country?
Sorry.
You say you used USA, then Germany and others country use this model on. So my question is that which model perform best for individual country for forecasting COVID-19?
So which model is this distribution or the models of support vector? Sorry. From this distribution,
no, this is not.
Large, then, sorry, I didn't. When I am failed to
Okay, Madhavi. So, Arman, maybe if you know, you can answer your own question. Do you know the question you raised?
Sir, I meant that which model is good for USA?
Do you know the answer or not? Or you just want to know the question? You
So
know by yourself or not?
I want to know the answer.
Okay, so maybe you can contact with Madhavi later. So I'd like to thank you, Ajiju Rahman Bhai, again for his time. And it's like midnight in Canada right now, so he has to leave. But there are students, you can have a contact with Ajiju Rahman Bhai. He is very cooperative and is very helpful, and his knowledge in statistics is very good. So I think you are going to be benefited if you are keep in touch with Ajiju Rahman sir, or you. For me, this is my direct brother from Jahangirnagar. So thank you again, Ajiju Rahman Bhai, for your time. So this is the starting. Ajij Bhai, this is the starting. In fact, we just started. Yeah. We just started. Yeah. Hopefully, we can collaborate, and hopefully, we can invite you to come up and to encourage my students. So right now, their preparation is not that good enough, but they did like in a very short period of time. So maybe in the next upcoming stage of their life, they can improve.
Definitely I encourage your initiative and all your students, and just keep in mind that they keep in mind that the sir একটু আগে যিনি বললেন একজন স্যার আছেন ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে, তারপর আরো ম্যাডামরা আছেন, তারা যে পরামর্শগুলো দিচ্ছেন তারা তাদের অভিজ্ঞতা থেকেই পরামর্শগুলো দিচ্ছেন, এবং আমি আমার অভিজ্ঞতা থেকে কিছু দিয়েছি, সেটা ভুলও হতে পারে নাও হতে পারে, এটা আপনি নিবেন কি নিবেন না সেটা আপনার উপর। বাট একজন ভালো রিসার্চার হওয়ার জন্য আপনাদের এই পরামর্শগুলো খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ, এবং আপনারা যদি অবশ্যই ভালো একজন রিসার্চার হতে চান তাহলে অবশ্যই আপনাদেরকে এই জিনিসগুলো মেনটেন করে চলতে হবে। তাহলে দেখবেন একটা পর্যায়ে আপনাদের জিনিসগুলো খুব স্মুথ হয়ে যাবে। কারণ এই ফোর্থ ইয়ারে এসে ও জানে যে আমরা ফোর্থ ইয়ারে ইভেন তো মাস্টার্সেও আমরা এইভাবে at the very beginning আমরা কোনো ধরনের প্রেজেন্টেশন শুরু করি নাই, আমাদের করানো হতো না। বাট এখন স্টুডেন্টরা মোটিভেটেড হচ্ছে এই ধরনের তোমাদের শিক্ষক আছেন যিনি ডক্টর সিদ্দিকুর রহমান, তার মাধ্যমে মোটিভেটেড হচ্ছে। কারণ হচ্ছে যে একটা রিসার্চ মাইন্ডের একটা কোলাবোরেটিভ টিম তৈরি করা, সেই টিম তৈরি করার জন্য তোমাদেরকে উৎসাহিত করার জন্য এই আয়োজনটা করা। এবং এই আয়োজনটা করার মাধ্যমে আমি বিশ্বাস করি যে অবশ্যই তোমাদের মধ্যে থেকে কেউ না কেউ অবশ্যই রিসার্চের আগ্রহী হবে, এবং সেই রিসার্চের আগ্রহটা ধরে রাখার জন্য কন্টিনিউয়াসলি এই রিসার্চ গুলো কন্টিনিউ করা, পাশাপাশি যে শিক্ষকরা যে সাজেশন দিচ্ছেন সেই সাজেশন গুলো এবং মেনে চলা। আর একটা জিনিস লাস্ট বলে নিই, আমি নিজেও শিখছি, তোমাদেরও যেটা বলে নিই, যে কোনো একটা পেপার পড়ার সময় অ্যাকচুয়ালি স্যার যেটা বলছিলেন যে প্রজ এন্ড কনস, কেন করছি, কেন কাজে লাগছে, কেন এটা ওরা ডেভেলপ করলো, এবং আলটিমেটলি এটা আমি আমার দেশের পার্সপেক্টিভে কোথাও ব্যবহার করতে পারবো কিনা, এই চিন্তাধারাগুলো মানে মাথার মধ্যে নিয়ে আসে, এবং সেইটাই পরবর্তীতে আপনাদেরকে রিসার্চে মোটিভেটেড করে। তো আমি সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি যে আপনারা কন্টিনিউ করতে থাকেন। হয়তো বা পরবর্তীতে আবার কোনো প্রজেক্টে বা কোনো ধরনের এই ধরনের কনফারেন্স গুলো হলে আমি অবশ্যই অ্যাটেন্ড করবো, এবং আমি আমার তরফ থেকে যতটুকু সম্ভব আমি আপনাদেরকে সেই সহযোগিতা করার চেষ্টা করবো। থ্যাংক ইউ, অনেক ধন্যবাদ ডক্টর সিদ্দিকুর রহমান।
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Bye
very
bye.
much. Bye bye.
Thank you, Aziz. Thank you so much.
Masum Pateri sir, could you please, or do you want to say
Yes,
something?
thank you, Siddiq. What I'm going to say, that is not only for her presentation, I would say please all the participants who are actually the presenter, keep the notes. As just Aziz said, if possible, try to keep those notes. So can you please go to your first slide so that I can tell you one by one, and that will be helpful for all the participants. Okay, so your first slide, that is very good, I would say, because everyone can look what you who you are, what you are going to do, and where. I mean, the audience and the dais, everything's are very clear. Now, can you please go to the second one, next one? Okay, that's also very neat and clean, I would say. So go to the next one. Look here, like the objectives, just objectives. You don't need any semicolon. So don't put semicolons on the title, because this is the title. Okay, then go to the next one, please. This one is okay. You can sometimes use the subtitle study area and populations, semicolon. You can use it, you can't use it. Both are okay. Go to the next one, please. That is also okay, but if you write something on the top, like there is a graph and there is a table, I mean numeric data, and at the same time like graphical data. So if it's possible, oh, you already okay, you said descriptive statistics, but if you make a general title, that would be very good idea. Next slide, please. Here, table 1, table 2. So, and also like the probability plot of confirmed cases over the period, and semicolon, it shouldn't be. So delete that one, the semicolon, and like table 1, table 2. So table 1 and table 2 for what? If you just make it in a one slide, table 1, table 2, and the graphical part in the another slide, that would I think better. And on the underneath of the table and the graphical chart, please put like source, semicolon, and the author's name, author's name, how we normally use the citation, the author's name and the year of publication. So that would be good. Like this is not your data, this is comes from the article. So just put like a source and the year. Can you please go to the next one? Here, look. This one is also here, as I said, like after the global cases, that shouldn't be. And next one, please. I'm going very fast, so you can make it all the as it is. Like, look here, approximately starts with no, keep the okay. So here, approximately start with lowercase a, Again, look, approximately start with uppercase A. It has to be similar. Both has to be similar. Okay. So next one, please. There is also semicolon, so you have to, and all the uppercase, lowercase should be similar. Next one. Okay. In that slide, look, here in the left box, you said SVM in the first line, and at the same time on the right box, you put SVM just the last one. Why did not make it same parallel? I think that you should do that. And go to the next one. Next slide. Limitation. Sorry, limitation. Go back. Limitation. There is limitations. Actually, not limitation. It should be limitations, because there are not only one limitation. And that's all. So I'm just telling some kind of typo, and this kind of typo still we are also doing, I mean, like at our age. So it's not a very big issues. I'm just telling you, because of in future, it would be helpful for all of you. And as Aziz said, from your level, as Dr. Siddiq arranged this kind of seminar, or I would say this is a one kind of international seminar, yeah, because one joined from Canada, one joined from California, and the other parts of Bangladesh. So it's a very good opportunity for all of you, and I should really grateful to Dr. Siddiq that he invited me, and all of you are very much, I would say, lucky that all of you are actually blessed. That's why all of you got these kind of chances. Thank you so much. We can move forward for the next one.
Thank you, Dr. Patori. So we are really grateful also for your encouraging and very insightful recommendation or suggestion how to improve the presentation slides. Those suggestions were very helpful for our students. I think the students can improve their presentation in their upcoming stage of life. So if there is any other question, maybe someone raised hand, named maybe ID 49. Selim Mondol.
Yes, sir. I have a question about that. Is there any reason to choose the data set by the author between 80 weeks for training data set and 70 weeks for the test data set? Is there any specific reason?
I don't know. They choose 18 weeks as a training and 17 weeks as a test data set. But why they choose this, I don't know.
This is a normal rule of thumb, like as I told you, like 70%, 30%, right? So the splitting is done using randomly. So it's up to you, up to research problem. As Aziz Rahman told you, the data is very complex now. As a statistician, you have to look over the data pattern, right? So you know better how your data behaves, right? So you can split the data and in the training and test set, right, to check the random fluctuation. And it's very important in machine learning research, splitting the data first, right? So you have to split the data in training and test, then you can predict both training and test, right? So normal rule of thumb is like the researcher recommend normally 70% and 30%, right? 30%, but it can be changed like 60-40 as well. But the training data set should be, the size of the training data set as far as percentage is concerned should be bigger than the test data set, right? So maybe this is some of the idea you can learn later on. Anyway, Madhavi, thank you very much for your nice presentation. Now I'd like to request
one more thing I would like to add, Siddiq, that is for the students who are asking or raising the questions, please don't ask any kind of questions like I'm trying to give you a hard time. So exactly. I mean, if you have this kind of attitude, please ignore those kind of attitude in the presentation, both audience and from the dais. all should be respectful to each other. It's not like that I'm giving you a hard time, you are not able to answer, that means you are not very good. It doesn't mean if someone asks a very typical or critical questions to make someone fool,
he is full actually.
it's a right, exactly. Thank you.
Anyway, so
Siddiq sir.
Yes.
I would like to say something. I have joined this lecture just 30 minutes before, maybe.
Okay.
I am hearing the presentation and looking the slides. I feel very good. Our students present their slides, I think, very interestingly and attractively. And their arrangement of the slide, I think it's very amazing. It is unexpected from me because
Thank you, sir.
I believe that our students may be not perfect for presenting the slides, but my idea or my thinking was wrong. After looking Madhavi Rani Roy's slides, I feel very interesting and also happy. But from the slide, slide number 6, I would like to know just what is the purpose of probability plot weekly global cases. For example, if she explain just one from this, I will be clear about this probability plot. Could you explain a little bit, Madhavi Rani?
Here, okay.
Just anyone from here.
So for the probability plot for weekly cases in Germany, goodness of fit test. Here the values, this is the 3 parameters variable distribution, and the AD value is 1.163 and P value is 2.005. And for the same data set, we also see the value of logistic distribution, large extreme value, 2-parameter exponential distribution. Here is the plot, and AD values and P values. From
Maybe some network issues. Hello. Hello.